All right, guys, I got one more piece of breaking news for you here. So, the motive of the Trump shooter is becoming a little more clear. So, we have some reporting from the New York Times. I find this really interesting. So, previously we had talked about his politics. I mean, I kind of hate it when people say, if like a politician gets shot and somebody says, well, maybe it's apolitical. Maybe his motivation was something else. I always think, no, they shot a politician. So it's by definition political because you killed a politician. Yeah, obviously, you can say he was clearly very anti-Trump if he tried to assassinate Trump, right? That's why initially people were thinking, hey, maybe it's like Antifa. That would add up. But when we actually learned about his politics, it became very confusing. So in 2021, he had donated to a progressive PAC $15. And come to find out, based off Ryan Grimm's reporting here, that it actually turned out to be kind of a scam PAC. So it's possible he didn't even know who he was donating to. Apparently, that PAC sends out things in the mail that look like bills, and some people get tricked into paying, and they don't even realize what they're paying for. So it's possible he had no idea who he was donating to. It is also possible that he did, right? Well, then we learned soon thereafter he registered as a Republican. He also voted as a Republican. He remained a Republican up until the day he died when he was killed when he was trying to assassinate Trump. Also, former classmates came out and said, look, whenever we got into politics in class, he was staunchly conservative, and he made that clear. Now, some other classmates said, well, it's actually not clear. I thought he was relatively apolitical. He struck me as apolitical. Okay, so we have some confusing stuff here, some evidence pointing in different directions. But get this, from the New York Times tonight, quote, when the FBI was able to finally access Mr. Crook's cell phones and other electronic devices, agents could see that he had searched for images of Mr. Trump, as well as President Biden, Attorney General Merrick B. Garland, and even FBI Director Christopher Wray. Mr. Crooks also had typed in, quote, major depressive disorder, and searched for dates and places for appearances for both Mr. Biden and Mr. Trump. One of Mr. Trump's planned appearances happened to be about 50 miles from Mr. Crook's house in Bethel Park, Pennsylvania. So, based off this reporting, it's sort of like just happenstance that he settled on, I guess I'll shoot Trump. Because he was looking for, maybe I'll shoot Biden. Maybe I'll shoot Attorney General Merrick Garland, right? So, I don't know. When you read this, it sort of feels like maybe at the end of the day we come full circle and he's just like the standard stereotypical mass shooter type. The awkward, loner, introverted white guy who has massive psychological problems, doesn't have many friends, doesn't do well with girls, probably has a history of sociopathic or psychopathic behavior from when he was a kid, right? It just sort of looks like that now. So it depends if you think this is a Trump card, no pun intended, in terms of the motive. Many people probably will think it's a Trump card and, pound the gavel and say, yeah, he's just like a standard mass shooter type who happened to settle on shooting Trump. That's very possible based on this, and I can understand people come to that conclusion. It's also possible that there really is some sort of weird conspiracy going on, right? Because it's almost too perfect. It's almost too perfect when you look at all the details. So some evidence he may have been a progressive. I mean, he literally tried to shoot Trump, and he donated to a progressive PAC. Some evidence he may have been to the right of Trump, a neo-Nazi type or a Groyper type, thinking Trump's a sellout and he's too moderate, and that's why he shot him. Remember, he registered as a Republican and voted as a Republican. So there's evidence of both things, and then now there's also evidence of he searched major depressive disorder. Like, I don't know, man. You guys know me. I'm an agnostic when it comes to conspiracies. I evaluate each one on a case-by-case basis. I take a look at the evidence. I make my mind up, right? Some conspiracies happen to be true. Some happen to be not true. And some happen to be fucking insane, right? But this one, I understand people flirting with the conspiracies on this one, right? Just like the assassination of JFK, a majority of the public still thinks, no, that was a conspiracy. Lee Harvey Oswald did not act alone. And I think they are correct to think that based on the evidence. In this instance, based on almost how like tailor-made this guy's story is, and the fact that there's all the weirdness going on with the Secret Service, I understand the speculation, right? I mean, shit. He was there like in the rough spot where he did the shooting from like 26 minutes. The law enforcement, I don't know whether it was the Secret Service or the police, but somebody was using that building that he shot from the roof from. They were using that building as like a main area where they would gather. Like, what? What? You had the officer who climbed up and then retreated after this guy pointed a gun at him. You had people warning the Secret Service for an extended period of time beforehand, and they didn't do anything. They didn't act quick enough. You have the nonsense commentary from the head of the Secret Service that was like, oh yeah, we weren't on that roof because it was sloped. Okay, you're the Secret Service. You can't handle a sloped roof? By the way, it wasn't even that sloped. The roof that the counter sniper killed him from was more sloped, and they were over there, right? So I still, at the end of the day, I still believe in Occam's razor. The simplest, most straightforward explanation is most likely the correct one. I still lean more on the side of incompetence rather than malice, but I do understand people speculating. I do understand all the chatter. I do understand the weird facts that come out that don't seem to add up, right? So anyway, I guess have fun with the motive and the speculation about what went down. But if you take this reporting on its face, I'm sort of leaning more towards not really that political, right? More just totally disturbed individual. Either that or colossal and weird conspiracy. So, I don't know. Take your pick between those options.